I found so much power in who I am today as Bridget, and it's if I will use the power for good.
Back with more Truth Be Told, and her drag means business. Brigitte, Bandit, thanks for hopping on with me. Look at you. You look amazing.
Howdy.
Well, right before we started recording, but we were talking about that feeling of just like being outpaced between all of the bills and the negative conversation, the anti-LGBT everything. But what the conversation I think lacks is what you were bringing up in terms of how there is so much more volume in terms of people who believe in equality, people who are pro-LGBT people, people who are part of the community. There is actually a bit of an imbalance there. Despite the negative conversation sucking out all the air out of the room, there's still, by volume, like so many pride celebrations popping up in small towns this year, more than ever.
Yes, yeah, definitely. Yeah, we are seeing pride everywhere. We've had our first we have so many little smaller towns around Austin, like Georgetown and Pflugerville and Round Rock and Cedar Park, and they're all having their own little mini prides,
Yeah.
even in the smaller Texas towns, which is really cool to see.
Well, you've been able to use your drag as a real life megaphone there in Austin. What's really compelled you to share your story and to even testify before the Texas State House?
Well, I think just the power I found in drag. Drag has allowed me to know myself better than I ever have in my entire life. And I cherish it so much. I think it's so important. And I know how crucial and critical it is as queer people to have spaces where we can explore ourselves outside of what is expected for us in the society that we grow up in. And drag is one of those avenues. And so I will protect it with all I can do, and also my community too. You know, my community matters a lot to me, and so I will do whatever I can for them as well.
Looking at you right now, it's big hair, big eyes, big everything, big personality. What's informed your drag over the years? And are there particular elements of your drag that really resonates with your being?
Well, I'm an AFAB drag queen, which means assigned female at birth. So I grew up really feminine and kind of having these expectations of what that should look like. And whenever I did want to dress even more wild and outrageous, it would always be like, tone it down, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, no, I want to go all out. I want to have fun. I want to, break those kind of restrictions about what femininity is supposed to look like. And so I feel like having this space where I can just go all out and wild and crazy and go super feminine as I want to. And then people think I'm a man for some reason. But yeah, I just have so much fun with that. I think it's just growing up as an AFAB person and loving femininity the way that I do has really shaped the way that I present myself in drag.
What was young Bridget like? And did you grow up in Texas also?
I did, yeah. I'm born and raised right here
Okay.
in Austin, Texas. And yeah, I was I was loud and I've always been loud and kind of
Same
just
girl. I'm
unapologetic. Yeah, I just like, don't know how to read the room at all times, just be like, ah. We have a funny video of me wanting to be the very first one on stage in our little like tap dance thing whenever I was a kid, and speaking for my sister who was really shy, didn't want to say her name, so I would step in for her. So yeah, I think I just always had a lot of fun. I think even when people were mean to me or something, I was just in my own little world and I didn't even realize I was being bullied until years later. And I was like, oh yeah, that was mean. But I didn't care because I was just having fun, and I just was gonna be who I was no matter what.
What is that positive self talk that you maybe give yourself when you're going into a state house or talking with legislators that keeps you kind of on track? Or I guess what keeps that positive momentum forward moving for you? Because I think it's so easy just to bow out or say, like, this is not really my fight, or someone else can do this, or I'm not good enough. How are you balancing out the negative self-talk with the positive.
The first time I went to speak at the Capitol was the very first time I had ever testified at the Capitol or anything. And like I said, I
Yeah.
do kind of live in like my own little delusion. And so
Well, wait,
I didn't even really have a lot of negative self-talk. Like for me, there was just no if, ands, or buts. If I had an opportunity to fight for my community and show up and share what I had to share from my perspective, especially as an AFAB drag queen with the way that they were trying to define drag, I was gonna do it. You know, there was just no doubt in my head about whether or not I was gonna show up. So I think the second time was a little bit more difficult, but the first time I was in the full fantasy. Okay, and being in drag just
I'm
makes you feel more
obsessed.
powerful. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. You're in Texas, you're fighting for equality by simply existing, whether that is existing within this identity and your definitions of femininity and how you are existing with drag and the social justice of it all. What topics or conversations do you feel like we should be talking about that are maybe not getting a lot of attention right now?
Well, I think for me, whenever I think about the struggle that we're in, I think a lot about solidarity. I think we need to understand that a lot of these anti-drag bills are rooted in transphobia. So we have to be able to talk about trans people in the same breath that we're talking about anti-drag rhetoric. And I also believe that these anti-drag laws are also rooted in misogyny. And so I think it's very important right now to also talk about any kind of turf rhetoric. If
Mm.
Anybody who doesn't know what a TERF is, a trans exclusionary radical feminist, women who just want to exclude trans women from womanhood, which I think it's so strange that you would want to define womanhood by what kind of body parts you have. I think womanhood means so much more than what somebody has on them or is born with. So I think that that's also important to understand that feminism includes trans women as well. And whenever we talk about these anti-drag bills, it includes, fighting against misogyny and transphobia as well.
You were just dishing out some terms, and I was just thinking as you were helping define some really important conversation points and terminology. This is all language that definitely people like you and I growing up didn't have this kind of language, and we're being equipped now. I work in, I guess we can say we work in activism and advocacy, and we're always learning. But how important is it for us to be able to not only explore language, but help others to give others that language also?
Well, I think it's important to talk about these things so that you can recognize it whenever you see those kinds of ideas being shared. I think, especially whenever you think about like turf rhetoric and kind of the way that they try to push their own agenda, it can be very insidious and it can come in ways that you may not expect it. And it's important to know these kind of terminologies so that you can define it and you know and you can reject it as well and understand where it's coming from and where it's rooted in, and not having that language can make it a little bit more difficult to define and recognize. And so I think having these kinds of conversations are so important for that.
When we talk about things like truth and authenticity, just those words alone, it's the core parts of a queer experience, right? We're always searching for a truth, living in our authenticity. Do you think it's the lack of those things for people when it comes to anti-LGBT rhetoric and conversations? Do you think that there's a lot of lack of truth and authenticity in the people who are driving a lot of that forward?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, like I think another thing that makes me so strong in what I do is that I know I stand in my truth and I know I stand in my power. And I see the way that they have to twist these even images, these narratives and stuff to try to fit their own agenda. We even had one of the groups take a photo from an outdoor daytime story hour event I hosted and edited the
Yeah,
background into a dark nightclub and then put that in a TV ad aimed to push this legislation. So it's like they're not even trying to hide it. You know,
right.
they know what they're doing. They know it's all based in lies and deceits, and they know that it's only to advance their own agendas for whatever reason. And they know that drag is actually not the problem, but it's an easy scapegoat for them to escape the kind of problems that they want to avoid.
What would you say is your truth, Bridget? Who and what is Bridget Bandit today?
My truth is a unapologetic, um, loud, bright, colorful, joyous person. I think drag spreads so much joy, and I feel like that's what I do. That's what I see in my community. That's what I love to spread and share, and I will continue to do that. I found so much power in who I am today as Bridget, and it's if I will use the power for good as much as I can.
I love it. And I'm feeling the love. I feel I can take on the world just by talking with you. So that's so palpable and I can feel it through the screen. So thank you so much. And for coming on in a full beat for me. Thank you so much.
Yes,
Yes, yes,
absolutely.
yes. Bridget Bandit, thank you for all you're doing in Texas and I will see you real soon, my friend.
Thank you.
To see more episodes of Truth Be Told, check us out at Plus Life Media and pluslifemedia.com. Until next time, let your truth be told.